My grandmother's life was saved by imagination. Go back 100 years to the devastating years of 1918, 1919, 1920, when Jews across Russia were under attack. Petler's forces stormed homes and murdered hundreds of Jews in coordinated strikes at night. Waves of attacks called pogroms. At the time, my great-grandparents were in their early 20s, and my great-grandmother was pregnant. Death came so close to her that at one point she laid down next to dead bodies in the snow to escape the murderous eyes of the agents of state-sponsored violence. Rather than cower at the events around them, my great-grandparents, Julius and Libby, turned their minds to a new place, a place of reimagining their lives. 4 short months after my grandmother was born to them, they were already crossing Russia in a horse-drawn carriage, to a train across Poland, and to a ship across the Atlantic. They settled in Montreal, Canada, drastically rearranging their lives for the sake of survival. Their will to survive pushed them to bravely envision a new future for themselves. Their ability to imagine saved their lives and that of my grandmother, and made real the possibility of the existence of her sister and all of the children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren and great-great-grandchildren who would follow. My story is not unique. Many of us have ancestors who took incredible risks because they could imagine a way out of the chaos that surrounded them. Our existence is proof of the triumph of their hopes and dreams. We're living in the reality of our grandparents' wildest imaginations. Dreaming and imagining a new future is in the DNA of our people. Abraham envisioned the blessing God gave him, that his progeny would number greater than the stars in the sky. This imagining gave him the strength to lech lecha, to go out from his father's house to a new land. Joseph's ability to dream and correctly interpret the dreams of the Egyptian pharaoh allowed him to foretell 7 years of plenty, followed by 7 years of drought. So he counseled the Egyptians that they must save grain if they wanted to survive. This plan unfolded precisely as Joseph saw it in his mind's eye, and the Egyptians were saved. Eternally grateful for Joseph's visionary instruction, Pharaoh promoted him to be among his chief advisors. But perhaps the most visionary patriarch we have was Moses, who understood the oppressive injustices waged by a new Pharaoh against the Israelites. Dissatisfied and even disgusted with what he witnessed, Moses refused to accept the reality of the oppression that they faced. With God's help, he envisioned liberation for his people. He saw the future he wanted to create, and he took steps to make it so. It wasn't easy, but his vision drove him forward. As we know, he went back to Pharaoh 10 times before he was granted permission to make that exodus from Egypt. He made the vision of liberation real for the people, and they followed him to freedom. Imagination as a tool for survival is in the soul of every Jewish person. We have suffered countless tragedies, and rather than just accept these realities, we have been propelled into our future first through our ability to vision, and then to pursue a path toward a better life. Theodore Herzl famously said, "If you will it, it is not a dream." And wow, do we need this ability to envision now in the midst of the chaos around us. I may be attuned to this idea as I'm delivering this sermon tonight from Orange County, California, home of the Disney Imagineers. People who have made whole worlds based on imagination, like Fantasyland and Tomorrowland. They call us to imagine our own wildest fantasies for tomorrow. Now, for some, like my wife, Melissa, that may mean simply ordering takeout again, or hopping on a plane to Hawaii. But I want to encourage us to rethink our lives more radically than that. I mean, at least envision international travel to, say, the Philippines. But really, what world do we want to create and how do we want to get there? What kind of existence do we dream about living? How would we imagine our families, our neighborhoods, our governments in a fantasy land, in Tomorrowland? What can we do to build it? To boldly imagine taking steps in the direction of change, we must give ourselves the permission to first imagine the world we want to create. The Torah portion traditionally read tomorrow includes the command to choose life. What life will we choose to embrace? As the infomercial says, if you can dream it, you can be it. What do you dream of for the year ahead? Today is the holiest day of the Jewish year, a day where we must imagine the world we want to create for ourselves and our society. A day to remember the values of pikuach nefesh, the preciousness of life, of al tashchit, of not wantonly destroying, of ve'ahavta lereacha, of loving our neighbors, of tzedek umishpat, of due justice, of B'Tselem Elohim, of the idea that we were all created in the sacred image of God. We begin today by imagining a world created with these values at the core, to choose the life that we want for the world. We're currently living in our forebears' vision for the future. Our existence is proof that their wildest dreams came true. Likewise, the dreams we envision today create the future we will see tomorrow. The living link between my visionary grandparents and me was my grandma, who made that journey from the pogroms in Russia as a baby and died after a love-filled life at 100 years old this year. The vision of a better life saved her life and allowed her to fulfill her wildest dreams. I can only imagine her whispering to each and every one of us here tonight, go further. Don't hold back from imagining your wildest dreams. Tonight, may we give ourselves permission to choose the life we want for ourselves and our communities. What do you see? Don't hold back. And may your best, wildest imaginations come true one day.